it's so interesting because I never planned to be back in South Africa. I was in Australia. And so life has that amazing way of crossing your paths with significant people. And I think when you when you recognize someone in your life who is there to give you an inspiration or to share an experience or to empower you to do something. I mean, I'm privileged to work with the people that I do, and I know Jo says the same about the people she works with, because we're able to share some of what we have to empower them to do things that they would really want to do and enjoy. And as couples, for people to explore their life in a different way in an overland environment, it's a unique experience. And it doesn't have to be in a four-wheel drive. Sometimes it's on a tandem. Sometimes it's motorbikes, a van. There's lots of options.
But I also think, going back to the thing about where we were in terms of when we met, I think when we look back now also, because there's always divine timing, who we were then would not have been ready to be where we are now.
Timing?
We both needed to go through the University of Hard Knocks to learn a couple of things, to get a bit of a wake up and a shake up. And what I love about, because we both say we are both grateful.
All the lessons you learn.
And I can honestly say, if everything that I've gone through in my 50 odd years is what's brought me here today, where I am, I'm grateful, and I would do the whole lot again. And some of it wasn't pretty, but I would do it all again because this is where I am. And if that's what needed to be, so be it.
And I think, you asked us a question earlier about what it takes to go on expedition as a husband and wife or as friends. And I think, that opportunity which you create, which revolves, let's say, around a four-wheel drive and takes you to different places, is a journey. It's a journey. It is that amazing journey. And I think I encourage people to look deeper, and we both do. We're very passionate about people living their lives fearlessly free. It's something Jo works on now, and the work she does, empowering people to be fearlessly free to live the life they deserve. And it's such an amazing concept. And we've had a breather, we've had a gift right now, which is going to change all our lives, and we're all going to be different from what we've had to experience now with COVID-19 experience. Not all bad. Relationships we've had that haven't worked out, they're not bad, they're not wrong, they're an experience. You just got to be honest enough to choose the experience to say, is it right for me, and is it going to serve me going forward? And if it's not, be honest enough to stand up and say, that's not right for me, and I'm going to move in a different direction. I will never be offended if someone says they don't want to work with me because we don't fit. I admire them for their honesty. So I think that's, we've taken valuable lessons in what we do and how we do it. We find that our overland passion for travel enables us to live our lives the way we really believe has real value and has a depth. And we love sharing our experiences with people. We love to enable people to go and enjoy what we enjoy.
And dealing with fear, how does one overcome that kind of thing?
So I think there's also got to be an intrinsic trust that you have with each other before even embarking on a trip. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
So let me give an example of when I went on this rally. So now, all excited me, I'm going on the rally to Southeast Asia, exciting new places, new people, and get to know Paul's world. I have an eye-opening experience, because what we didn't plan for was how ill Paul got. Paul was on a landslide, and it wasn't pretty. He got the most horrific bronchial pneumonia in Myanmar.
They put me in an ambulance, and
he didn't drive his own truck.
I didn't drive my own truck. Jo drove the truck, and it was basically between you and Bruno to get our truck across and move it. But I was that sick, and I think the learning from that was, you've got to trust each other implicitly.
I've never done this before. He's now sick, and he's got to trust me. But I'm going all the way around the world to meet 40 people that I've never met, that he's got a history.
Doing his job, and you've never done it before.
Well, I mean, I think we didn't have her fixing the cars.
I was entertaining
But,
everybody.
but the reality is, it's about that trust. So the work that I do with couples to enable them to go and travel is on a level that you've got to have a very clear understanding to be able to trust each other. You need to make sure that you've both got skill sets and you both take the responsibility of learning what you need to learn.
But you've got to talk about it before the trip, not on the trip, because that's when the bickering starts. But you should have, and why didn't you? And you didn't say, and I thought you, because expectations are disappointments in the making, aren't they?
Yeah.
And assumptions are the mother of all. So with all of that under the belt, and you haven't talked about it before, you're not going off on a good foot.
No.
It's a lesson, it's a learning, and I think when you do have those difficult conversations about, you know, how are we going to embark on this and what's important, you prepare yourself so much better. And a lot of the training I do, and the training Jo does, but certainly on the overland side, it's scenario based, where you're going to talk about, or you're going to help someone experience an element of it so that they're better prepared to deal with it.
Roles and responsibilities, something as simple as roles and responsibilities. So nobody feels that they're doing more of or less than, and they're burdened with this. And just, it's sharing, it's teamwork. This is the test of teamwork.
And it's actually very exciting for couples, as opposed to people being fearful. I think the fear that people, when I ask that question, what are your biggest concerns? And it'll be like safety, and it'll be like, what if we have an accident, and what if we break down? You can work through all that. You can work through great communications. You can be prepared if you have an accident. You can sort a problem out if you have a breakdown. Okay. What we don't always prepare for is our own interactions and how that works and how we're going to deal with that. And I think when you can do that on a plane that supports you, you're adding another dimension of preparation to your travel and to your element of success. And that's what's so important, is to enable yourself to be confident. You want to make a success of what you're going to do. You're investing a lot of time, energy and money. So the basic preparation should never be overlooked. And I think part of the preparation that we believe is probably often overlooked is the preparation of self, attitude, the ability to communicate, your mindset, your approach. That should be a fear as well.
Because when you've got that under your belt, those other practicalities actually become insignificant.
You can sort them out.
But with no structure, you've got nothing.
No, it puts that in place. So that's what we support people to do, in a journey through an outdoor experience, to really look at each other and prepare that and
make it mindful, meaningful and memorable.
And in terms of spiritual growth in an overlanding situation?
Well, that's personal to different people. I think, you know, we all look for something that we live for, and I'll never, you know, sort of force any of my beliefs on people. But I do believe that, you know, it gives you an opportunity to have space and time, and I think with space and time you can get to know yourself more. How often do we spend time getting to know ourselves? We don't. You walk the dog, or you, as one of our people we followed under Pani will say, you walk your dog and you go, I'm having time with myself. You're not. You're
Time
walking
with
the
your
dog. And how often are people walking a dog and they're on the phone? So actually they're distracted twice over. So you actually, in half an hour we're sitting, eating, trying to get an email done at the same time. We're all guilty of it. I put my hand up to that for sure. But I'm becoming much more mindful now that actually the time we spend together, when we walk in the door, take the phones, put them away. We don't want to be distracted by our phones. We want to have time together to talk. We want to sit down and have a cup of tea. So if it's on the side of the road somewhere in a beautiful setting, that cup of tea is going to count, because we're going to take some time to talk and share about how we're feeling and what we're thinking. So if you want to look at how that grows you as a person or grows your beliefs in a spiritual way, we're both very spiritual. But I believe that you create opportunities to live more harmoniously with each other.
And it stops the noise, because there's always a to-do list going on. And this and that, and there's a call to make and a person to see and a social to go to and an appointment to... And it just brings you back to you and the two of you. And I think exactly what you said now about that opportunity to to connect with yourself and to connect with each other is, I think, is the thing that most people are fearful of in going on an overland as a couple. So if you're a couple where it's been your way of life, where you've camped, taken kids, or you've traveled, and it's the way you've kind of lived your lives together, we're not talking about those people. We're talking about the people who say, I have a dream. And Paul's the dream maker. Now we're going to go and do this thing. Now, I can imagine, and I've heard some women say, my biggest fear is how we're going to do this.
Spending time with somebody who's normally at work till 6 o'clock.
Yeah, well,
And then, of course, they haven't spent time with themselves because they're so busy. So this stuff also helps you, as Paul quite rightly said, you get to know yourself and then you get to know each other. Oh, and for some people, so all the other stuff, the going to the bathroom, the ablutions, that's
easy. You can
but
get through
that's
that.
also excuses, because what they're really scared, because women think about that stuff. It's like, how's this going to work?
The time.
Is he going to be as grumpy as he normally is? Are we going to be at each other like we?
You know,
And actually,
it changes. Hey, it's so interesting because that fear. I've often asked people, what was your fear, and then they get on their trip and they step out of the stress and the pressure that they're living under, which we all do. Okay, so when you step away from that, you do have the time to listen to your wife or listen to your husband. So actually, it becomes less of a problem. It's stuff we worry about. The fear of something you think is going to be worse than it really is. And I think that's often the case. When people come back and I say, so how was it really that you enjoyed each other's company? I say, it was amazing. We had time to talk. We shared some amazing sunsets together. We really, really had some amazing conversations. We've never done that.
We've had the time to.
We've never made the time or taken that time. So, you have to do it to experience it, to know the value. And when you come back, and I do ask those questions when people come back, because it fascinates me. Relationships are very powerful. And that's always, without doubt, I can count on less than a few fingers where it really hasn't worked out for couples. And they probably started off wrong. It probably wasn't meant to be that they did a trip together and they embarked on a big overland trip, and sort of at the end it fell apart. That can happen too. But more often than not, it's the other way.
But I'd say to women, just try it once and go with an open mind. Don't go with a preconceived thing of how you think it should be and have a script in your mind. Just do the preparation, all the practical stuff, so that you alleviate that. Go with the mental and emotional preparation. Go with an open mind and see what happens.